All right, let's rank some stuff. And today I'm going to rank all the cast members of the Suicide Squad. Basically, anybody in this picture. If you want a visual guide to put your own rankings down below, which I cannot wait to see. And I'm very curious to see who you'll put as number one. I had a tough time. I had a photo finish between two characters I think will be a lot of people's number ones, and that's Ratcatcher 2 and Polka-Dot Man. But in the end, there can be only one number one. That's why it's number one. And I went with Polka-Dot Man. Don't worry, Ratcatcher 2 is next up. But I chose Polka-Dot Man because James Gunn totally reimagined this character so effectively. From his origin story, to what his powers are, to the visuals of those powers. And so kudos also to the VFX team for realizing Gunn's vision so hypnotically. I think that's a great way to describe what they did with the character. David Dastmalchian also, of course, deserves credit for doing a wonderful job making Polka-Dot Man a very kind, likable character, but at the same time, he has that weird, creepy factor that you need to be a member of the Suicide Squad. I would never have killed this character off. Although, thinking about it, I suppose that makes his death more effective story-wise, because he really was cut down in his prime. I would say even maybe perhaps as his life was just getting started. So it makes it a very tragic death. A lot of tragic deaths in this movie. But hey, James Gunn went for it by it being the Suicide Squad. Still wouldn't have killed Polka-Dot Man, though. I would have found a way. Maybe he grows out of one of those dots. Maybe he still can. We don't know how that virus works. We don't know how that virus works. All right, number two, Ratcatcher 2. It's hard to overshadow Harley Quinn, but Daniela Melchior's Cleo Cazo is beautiful inside and out in this movie. Her origin story is also very moving, aided by a lovely, touching performance from Taika Waititi. Talk about an assist. Ratcatcher 2 also gets to be part of the main action, which I think really helps her character here. Not only saving the day and looking super cool doing it, but as is often said, acting is very much about reacting. That's what makes a really great actor, particularly anywhere, but especially on screen, because you really can see people's emotions. And Melchior's reactions in this movie are fantastic. From Bloodsport's fear of rats, I love that she keeps asking him why he doesn't like rats, to King Shark's antics, that was really beautiful, because, they not only had the touching stuff about her saying she'd be his friend, but, she played around with him a lot. She had a really good joking demeanor. To her reactions to the horrors of Starro and Peacemaker. I mean, her reactions were next level. This should be a star-making turn for Melchior. She's phenomenal, and many of us feel she should have gotten the spin-off show. All right, next up, number three, Rick Flagg. I can't believe Rick Flagg is so high up on my list. I mean, I felt he was a waste of space in the first Suicide Squad movie, and I thought Joel Kinnaman was miscast. But here, with his delightful take on an American Southern accent, or an American accent, which was very funny, I thought that was hilarious, he really does come across as the team leader, the middleman between the mad chaos of these villainous prisoners and the realistic chaos, which is no less dangerous, of the government's pulling the strings that he's working for or dealing with. He too has some very emotional moments in this movie. I thought one was nice. It was a quiet moment where he's helping out his friend, freedom fighter Sol Saria, with the advice to go and raid the palace when all the military is distracted. I thought that was he made that moment. And then also the other is when he, of course, obviously, is when he tries to do the right thing by revealing the U.S. government being the ones behind Starro, only to fail and die at Peacemaker's hands. His death scene might be one of the best death scenes, not just in a comic book movie, but in any movie. It was that good. It was incredible. All right, number four, Bloodsport. Look, we can all tell, no matter what anybody says, that with the daughter subplot, this was clearly supposed to be Deadshot. But I'm glad it isn't Deadshot, because Idris Elba's gravitas does a great job anchoring this movie. They don't need another funny character. But I do think that Idris Elba has comedic ability, and that allows him to work very well off of his co-star's crazy antics. In comedy, there's the zany one, and then there's the straight man. That's the lingo for like the two, when you have duos. And it's a skill to be able to be the straight man. And I think Idris Elba does a fantastic job with that here. As you can see, my favorite characters in this movie are the ones that have heart, and Bloodsport has a ton of heart. They even showed Rick Flagg's heart getting killed. He had too much heart. Maybe if it had been smaller, that shard of toilet would have missed. But anyway, back to Bloodsport. He teared up on the bus, and then also, it was great. Idris Elba really sold when he decides to finally pet Sebastian at the end of the movie, pat him on the head. That was really cute. If you can sell the audience on petting a rat, you are a good actor. Also, kudos to the emotional journey that the script gave. Plus, his physicality in the role is electric. He cuts a dashing figure throughout, not only in his superhero outfit, but even when he wears that beret and sport coat over a tank top. That was fantastic. Peacemaker. Next is Peacemaker. Boy, do I hate Peacemaker, but I guess that's the point. It takes two to tango, and Rick Flagg's death scene wouldn't work as well as it does without a good villain like Peacemaker to kill him. Same goes for when Peacemaker goes up against Ratcatcher and Bloodsport just moments later. I still don't know if I can watch a whole show about him unless that show is about killing him, but he does a good job as the movie's villain, so, he's got that going for him. Plus, he also has good physicality here. I thought John Cena did an excellent job with his movements there. Like they're taking out, I hate that scene, but when they're taking out the freedom fighters and he lifts himself up onto the roof in white pants, he did a good job. And speaking of those white pants, the costume department did a fabulous job as well, giving him some memorable looks that made him look so ridiculous, until you find out that he's a very serious threat. And that's actually pretty genius. Someone that you laugh at laughs last at you. So that's beautiful. Very well done. Next up, Amanda Waller. Speaking of villains, she should be, if this was done correctly, she should be above Peacemaker. But anyway, Waller has the potential to be another Joker or Lex Luthor, especially because she's played by the incredible Viola Davis. Now, she comes close here. For the first 2/3 of the film, her ruthlessness was a joy to behold, and I love that they underscored the horror of her being a government official, that she plays golf with senators. She's legit, which is really terrifying. I love that. But as I noted in my spoiler review, it's humiliating for Waller, a character who's always supposed to be multiple steps ahead of everyone else, that her team, not even like a good adversary, would successfully turn on her as they do in the third act. And it's totally out of character for Waller that she would take it. But she's still alive. Maybe she'll kill him later. I can't wait to see what she does next in the DCEU. Love her. All right, then Harley Quinn. Now you might be like, why is Harley Quinn so far down on your list? As I also talk about a lot, Warner Brothers offers up different interpretations of their characters simultaneously, which fractures the fandom. And here we have a fractured fandom, I'm afraid. I am a fan of the animated Harley Quinn, from when she originally appeared to today. But I understand that a lot of fans know her only from the games, and even more fans know her only as the Margot Robbie version. Now, I really dislike this version of the character. I think that this is just something that we have to come to. This is just a fork in the road for us as Harley Quinn fans. Some of you are going to go one way, some of you are going to go the other. And some of you might be like, hey man, I like both. But also, I really had a problem with how stupid she was in this movie. She was like really stupid, and I never thought the jokes landed for her. But I respect that many of you do like this version. In fact, on social media, I would say she has a strong cult following. Robbie also looks absolutely fantastic in the movie, and when it comes to the Suicide Squad, there's no denying that she's still the one driving interest in sales, just like she does since she's been added to the comic book version of the team. So that's really impressive. All right, then King Shark. Again, I like the animated version better. This one, less so. But for many of you, this is the first time you're meeting King Shark. Nobody watches that Harley Quinn show. If you watched Suicide Squad on HBO Max, you can watch the Harley Quinn show. There's 2 seasons, there's a third coming. It's so good. Although I don't know if you'll like it if you prefer these versions of the characters. But anyway, because that's who you met first. But anyway, a lot of people like this version of King Shark. And Sylvester Stallone really goes for it with the voice of the character. And he gets a lot more to say than I Am Groot. To his credit, Stallone really goes for it, which is, I think, entertaining. King Shark also has some very memorable moments in the film and a lot of gore, and he gives the movie some bite, because after all, he is a shark. All right, now it's time to rank the red shirts, and it gets a little tricky here, and I'm particularly curious to see how you guys rank these. My first red shirt is Blackguard. as I said in my non-spoiler review, I think Pete Davidson is not just a perfect fit with the Suicide Squad brand, but with James Gunn himself. They really should try and work together again. James Gunn, it's less important to him, but I think Pete Davidson, who's trying to build a movie career, he should really work hard to be in James Gunn's next project, which is actually a Marvel movie, so I don't know if he can get that, but he should really approach James Gunn about them doing something together, because Pete Davidson also does writing. I liked King of Staten Island. I thought it was surprisingly good. Then Captain Boomerang. Aw, man, it's a shame that the only remaining founding member of the Suicide Squad from the comics, the other being Deadshot, doesn't make it past the first 10 minutes of the movie. But to Jai Courtney's credit, he made those minutes count. His banter with Harley in the plane is a nice callback to her pointing out his mugshot in Birds of Prey. And I also liked his light-up boomerangs. I thought that was a nice new touch. So, again, he made those 10 minutes count. Then the Thinker. Peter Capaldi, speaking of making things count, he really goes for it, with the crude dialogue and the leisure suit sweats. So I appreciated his gusto, and he had to deliver all the Starro exposition, and he delivered it well. Hey, you love to listen to stuff in a Scottish brogue, right? Especially when someone's so angry. He was so angry. But that all the chemicals plugged into his head never amounted to a thing is not only sloppy, but a huge missed opportunity. I mean, his character could have just been a scientist. He could have just been a colorful scientist who worked there. He didn't need to be a comic book character. Then Savant, who's a bird killer. But still, he gets the nifty opening sequence where we're quickly and energetically reintroduced to how the Suicide Squad works, and Michael Rooker is very good at being very serious in very silly costumes. Then TDK, the detachable kid. Who doesn't enjoy seeing Nathan Fillion pop up? And here, his arms literally pop off, which I didn't really think worked. I mean, it was a funny joke at first, and it certainly helped to sell the trailers. And I did like that he had like attachment points, like a Ken doll or like a doll or an action figure. But the joke went nowhere, and he was absolutely useless in the field. So that's why he's so far down on my list. Then Weasel. This thing is a child killer. Whew, kill it with fire. Yet it actually lived, after I felt the lame joke of him drowning before they even hit the beach because nobody checked to see if he could swim. I mean, if he's so stupid he can't even ask for a life vest, what could he have contributed to the team if he did make it to the beach? I guess the fact that I'm curious is to the movie's credit. Javelin. His javelin ended up being a nice substitute for Harley's usual baseball bat, but that was all he contributed here. That's it. And then last, Mongol. Sorry, Mongol, but it's true. A pretty solid character in the comics, absolutely wasted here with another joke that I didn't think really worked. I mean, how did she feel she was going to effectively take out that helicopter? It just didn't work. So that's my rankings of the Suicide Squad characters in this picture. So be sure to share your own rankings down below and your thoughts. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.